recording. This is Deep Web3 Secrets, and we are here, and we are starting the event. I am an orange person, and I can start the event. This is the official Lazarus Heist podcast, and everything we can learn about it for our own decentralized communities. I have interviewed a couple of people. I haven't been able to put together a guest. Nobody who really wants to come on and talk about it, but I've got a whole sheet here of notes, and I lined up Aloha Ed. I know how much you guys like here on the Deep Web3 Secrets. Aloha Ed, how you doing, man?
I am doing well. I'm doing well. I'm doing immensely better than Bybit, let me say.
Now, when I reached out to you this morning, had you heard about this hack? What had you heard? What's in the air? This is 48 hours news, the largest crypto hack in crypto history since they minted the first Bitcoin. What had you heard? What's going on in the crypto Twitter sphere?
So, up to the point, what I had heard is that someone had done some social engineering on Bybit, the exchange. It sounds like soft skills were employed before technical skills were employed. I had not heard the name of the group that was connected with it when you said something, but I wasn't following it that closely because it's ETH. It's ETH. Do you say ETH or ETH? I've always said ETH, but
I had, when the first time I heard someone say that, they said ETH, and I said, wow, I'm pretty sure I always said Ethereum. Ethereum. And so, but, it doesn't really matter, right? ETH. And it's one of the oldest tokens, the first smart contract platform. It's the biggest now. $1.5 billion. First of all, is that a lot of money? Because within 24 hours, they had secured a bridge loan. Since it's a profitable business, they'll be able to pay it back. It seems like from the exchange side, they made a mistake, and they're going to pay for it. The customers will not be paying for it this time. Is $1.5 billion, is that a lot of money, or is that kind of just like, not that much?
well, I guess at scale, it is not that much. What is the market cap of Ethereum? Okay, I'm looking at it right now. The market cap of Ethereum is $339 billion. So how much was stolen from Bybit?
Okay.
1.4.
1.46 billion.
Bybit,
Yeah.
to Bybit, that is a very large sum. In the scale of the market cap of ETH, that is, what is that? That's approximately 0.4%, just doing maybe 0.375%.
Now, market cap analysis is one way to look at this, and it maybe not the most valid way. The question is liquidity, but again, Ethereum next to Bitcoin, which we'll get back to, has some of the deepest liquidity. Now, the question about this particular group, they call it the Lazarus group, is it a lot for them? What could they do with this? Now, one of the ways I've heard this framed is that the Lazarus group now has, and this is a famous, I don't know what famous means anymore, but is a famous North Korean hacking group of youngsters. They work directly for the top commander-in-chief, so the legend goes, and they have done this through means that we'll talk about later, but what can they do with this amount of money? They now have more Ethereum than Vitalik Buterin. They have more Ethereum than the Ethereum Foundation. What does that mean for Ethereum that one of the top holders of their token is allegedly a famous North Korean hacking trio?
Well, they're into island buying money, just to put that into a sense of scale. So the reason I mentioned Ethereum's market cap was what I thought might happen to the market itself, which is probably not much. To Bybit, certainly some things might happen to the to the North Korean hackers. Hopefully, they buy a boat in some island and go enjoy some daiquiris or something. Um, if they're working, if they're working for the North Korean government, they may not be able to enjoy the fruits of their theft fully. Unfortunately, they might just have to pass it over to the authorities.
Well, it's interesting how something like this could work. So the Lazarus Group is one of the things they're apparently known for is not dumping. What are they going to do with cash? What this is a really big bag. And what could they do with a big bag? And so some tweets have already reported that they have swapped some of the bag into Solana, Sol token. And so not a lot, really. I don't know what the totals were, but it minor percentage of it at this point. But they could pump any meme token or snipe any meme token. You know, it's the scary snipers we've been talking about. I can't confirm it right now on the air, but somebody here could. Anybody in the audience? We got Ryan Web3, and we would like to confirm the Lazarus Group. This is the North Korean trio. They've monitored, I think I saw a chart that was monitoring 13 or 15 hacks that they had been confirmed by this group. And they very rarely, what they do is they swap around, right? They'll swap the money around, and there's some, tainted wallets that they know about, but they do different things. And maybe $1 billion is a tool, a bag, to do a number of different interesting things. Now, what do you mean by social engineering, Ed? Because that's another thing I heard and I've learned a little bit more about. Everybody's talking that this was not a technical hack. It was a social engineering hack. What did that mean to you? Or did you figure out what that meant?
Well, I don't think they've admitted the full details, and they probably will not. But what that suggests is that someone working at Bybit or someone's was targeted with social engineering. And that could have been someone playing a friend. That could have been someone who got employed at Bybit. It could have been a pretty girl, could have been a pretty boy. Hey, let's go out for some drinks. Tell me about what you do.
Okay, Ed,
Yeah.
you're way off. You're way off. So I love that I could bait you into that. You're way off, Ed, and that's what I find fascinating about this.
Nice.
Because the social engineering hack that they're talking about, it seems to me to be very technical. According to my information, the UI itself displayed a legitimate transaction that they were trying to do. And again, this was a multi-signature transaction. And so more than one person supposedly looked at this UI and said the transaction's good. But Ethereum, now hold on, Rian Webb, because what I heard is that Ethereum allows chain-up transactions. And so there was a coinint, a join set to true. And if they would have put that into an Etherscan or something, they might have seen it. But it was a joined transaction that ended up sending it to the hackers. It was possibly from a poisoned front end. Now, one of the things that I've learned is what is the difference between a doxed and an undoxed developer? Centralized exchanges are known to work with undoxed developers. So we may have poisoned UI creator or something else, but it was even scarier than a fake UI, which, talking about fake UIs, on Hive, the equivalent would be if Keychain, when Keychain pops up, it says, transfer 10 tokens to Ed. And then if you click down, the drop down, you see a custom JSON, right? And it says, transfer transaction. And you could see, for example, any Hive engine or any layer 1 transaction. Very simply, you can see the custom JSON transaction you're casting, but most people don't click the drop down. If Keychain was hacked, Keychain could prompt us to send a transaction, and if we didn't drop down to check it, we could approve a transaction, transfer 10 tokens to Ed That's the preview screen, but the transaction might be something very different. Just in time, everybody. We're getting worked up. Keychain and also a new project popping. And we are popping, guys, because this is about who you can trust. And one of the things I find fascinating is in this very Discord, we have people popping up saying, hey, I want to be a developer on your project. I'm a developer in Web3. Hire me. Let me develop. And I didn't get a chance to research this as much as I could, but apparently there are North Korean developers very eager to help with all sorts of crypto front-end tools for all sorts of people and companies. And they might even be quite skilled and charge not very much money to do it. So what do you think about that, Ed?
So where I thought the social engineering part occurred was someone penetrating the company to be able to compromise their system to inject their own UIs, right? So I still believe there was a flesh and blood component in this sequence of events.
Absolutely right. It's absolutely right, and it was probably at an earlier stage. It was probably a nepotism hire at some point. Now, one thing I've learned, I thought Binance was a Chinese exchange. Well, it turns out Binance was a Canadian company. Bybit is the Chinese exchange. It is supported by China. It is that's where, like Upbit is associated with South Korea. Bybit is the official Chinese exchange where Chinese people can access markets, and they quickly received a bridge loan. They will probably do an internal audit. We're going to see how they played out, but so far have been very professional. $1 billion is not a lot for these people, as I understand it. What does that mean for, somebody said, is this an inside job? 1.5 billion does kind of sound like a nation state level bribe. What do you think could be the downstream effects from this, Ed? What could somebody be what law could somebody be trying to pass with a hack like this?
Oh, you mean using it? I think it's just North Korea just taking assets. I think this is a revenue stream for them.
Why would they? Hold on a second. If we want to believe this nation state personified story, I at least need you to defend this. Why would North Korea hack the Chinese exchange? Aren't they buddies?
Well, okay. You're talking about Binance or Bybit is a Chinese-owned entity?
Yes, I think that's right. And somebody could maybe dig into this. And I want to get to price because Ed went, the first place my mind went is the same place Ed's mind went. They're going to dump. Turns out these guys don't dump, but Bybit's on the hook. They got a loan to do what? To buy Ethereum from the market. So this could be really bullish, actually.
Well, looking at the chart in the last 7 days, Ethereum is up 4.8. In the last 24 hours, it is up 1.6. So it's certainly not hurt the price of Ethereum, at least not yet. And you're going to know more about this than I do, Eco. Nominally, Ethereum is a decentralized network, but how decentralized is it, and how long would it take them to push a fork in their server or their witness code to potentially shut out what they view as hostile wallets?
I love this. It's very interesting what solutions they have. Because a hard fork is not a great solution. It's a very bad solution for them. It almost killed Ethereum with ETC, Ethereum Classic, and they've waited too long. They've waited way too long to do any of the less ugly solutions. So maybe they could try to, capture 80% of it or something, bunch of poison wallets. But it's quite complicated. Okay. We're getting a lot of information in the chat. That's good because I had to research so quickly. A lot of the things I'm saying might not even be completely accurate. So that's why we're here in the Hive Discord where decentralized communities meet. And okay, so again, I just want to go over this one more time. The shown transaction on the UI was legit. Ethereum allows join or chain up transactions. Hive doesn't allow this. So the particular nuance of the technical hack and whatever social engineering was involved was likely involved at a software development level. And we need to, from Hive, what can we learn from this? We can learn to click the little drop down in our keychain and just check the JSON every once in a while. We can also learn that our reputation system, as much as we talk about onboarding and onboarding developers and paying a bunch of money to onboard developers, we have a reputation system, and we need to also hold accountable and be wary of the level of trust we put in developers, especially maybe, or all users, and maybe not be hateful or harassing, but view with some level of skepticism an invitation to work for very cheap and build front ends for our projects without audits, right? Because we're, of course, open source and cheap and nobody has money, and so nobody's auditing anything. So just, keep that. Maybe those are the thoughts I had initially now for Hive. What do you think about that, Ed?
Well, we do kind of have like an informal reputation system. And so, like, if I'm curious about a project, and Buckcoins says something is cool, I'm like, oh, okay, that might be fun. Or if you say something is cool, or if I hear Shadows Pub say, yeah, you should support these things. So we have this other layer because we are actually a relatively small ecosystem. Where my mind was going, tying this back into Hive, I was thinking about a week ago, we had a malicious actor who was attacking or trying to overwhelm Hive Engine with the number of transactions per block. How was that finally resolved? Because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you actually run a Hive Engine witness.
Yeah, and I find that Hive Engine and the lessons I've learned by participating in it are kind of a smaller microcosm of what happens every day with the Hive witnesses as well. So every layer can have, be its own game, you might say. The big game, of course, is the Hive witnesses. And yes, I've done a little bit of the little game with Hive Engine, and how was it resolved? Well, what did we get? What we got was an indication that that there was just, we were allowing, you set some limits when you make a protocol, and the limits we were allowing allowed a level of spam that was unacceptable, and so a number of options were put on the table, including blacklist, but it turns out blacklisting is not very effective because you just make another account, You delegate the Hive power, you delegate the resource, you delegate whatever, because it's delegated proof of stake. So the right answer, and the answer we ended up choosing, was to identify the specific type of transaction, which was it was a limit order on the market books. This account had decided every block to open and close 200 market limit orders in every block. And so it was opening and closing a micro dust of a 8 decimal TVLT token micro transactions, 400 times per block, every 3 seconds. And what happened was, because of when you open and close, and those things process, they also, other things happen, right? Because of the smart contracts. When you open it and then it gets closed, 2 blocks later, now something's happened, right? It's cleared up. But because it was happening every block and it took 2 blocks to clear up, it was a stacking problem. We could chew through it. A number of us Hive Engine witnesses upgraded our machinery during the thing just to try to chew through it. For the 24 hours it took us to put together a pull request to put a limit on how many market orders you can open every 3 seconds per market, and how that would work. And so within 48 hours we had it fixed, and it was just then about kind of chewing through it a couple times, putting in some snapshots. Some people then moved to do some full restores, and Binance did not get hacked. We're talking about the Bybit hack 2 days ago, and we've related it to a spam attack 2 weeks ago on the Hive Engine network. Let's bring us back to Bybit here. Just like this, somebody finds an exploit. I mean, this is a tale as old as time. What is a hack? Whether it's social or technical, you've allowed something to happen, and it's only until you see it happen that you realize, oh, I should make a rule against that. And whatever technicality it is, whether the rule is a safety precaution or the rule is each account probably only needs to make 5 different orders per block, right? I mean, so whether it's a simple or a complex protocol level change, you got to change the rules of the game. And all the hacker does is find ways to play the game that nobody had thought about rules for before.
Correct. And generally, the surfaces that are attacked like that are high value surfaces, right? No one's going to hack Hive to get into my Pepe tokens on Hive.
Your Pepe token is a honeypot, Ed. It's a honeypot.
No one is going to spend it. But if you're talking about $1.5 billion in Ethereum, then the amount of effort involved in that, the potential payoff is so much larger.
Well, let me ask you this question. Did Justin Sun social engineer Ned to gain control of Founder's stake? Do you think that was a social engineering attack?
Interesting. So offered him a certain amount of payoff and bringing it into the that's not a bad, so maybe we should make a distinction between someone getting an offer negotiation that doesn't necessarily benefit the users or doesn't conform with the ethos of the group, apart from like a malicious entry. Does that make sense? There might be people who say that Justin Sun, with good reason, what he did was entirely malicious, but without Ned, what was his full name?
I believe it was Ned Ross. I'm not sure exactly what his name was.
Right.
Is it important that I remember it, though? I'm sure it's in the hard drive, but I don't think I want to establish any more neurons back to that time.
It's not, but that's a different surface for exploitation, right? So perhaps he was vulnerable to an offer. But that offer in of itself wasn't necessarily illegal, and you can argue by whatever that the Lazarus group did to whatever attack surfaces they used, both the hacking, anything they did on the back end to be able to install what they needed to install to get it done. That's a little bit of a different scenario. Does that make sense?
Totally, Ed. And I think one of the most important things is to build awareness. For example, on Hive, some front end could do this. They could technically trick you into exposing your key. We have a certain protection called the recovery account, but that only really works for the staked Hive power, right? Or anything staked, because then you have time to recover the account. But I think we need to build awareness. Another thing that helps us on Hive is the reputation system. So if someone shows up today and starts blogging, hey, I'm a developer, let me build your front end, or hey, I'm a developer, I built this cool thing on Hive, come and log in with your keychain. Do I know this person? Does somebody know this person? Think about, we just had this new game. It's very popular. Everyone's trying to get me to play Crown Rend, and that's by Deathwing, I think. Is that right? Deathwing? And
that's correct.
And we know Deathwing. So even that I haven't gone yet, if at any time I felt like I would go and click the button, I would feel very good clicking the button. I trust Deathwing. But I don't know if I would trust Rando Crown Rend if it wasn't Deathwing. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. And that's kind of the sanity check and the point of investing some of your human capital in Hive and learning who people are and observing their behavior over some period of time, right? And that still doesn't mean they might have a good take on a bad thing or a bad take on a good thing, but at least it's another level of trust, right? That is your third factor authorization.
Yes.
Beyond, inspecting the JSON and
It's all layers. It's all layers all the way down, and I think that's exactly right. It's another layer of protection that our technology. Reputable person getting hacked, right? So that we have to understand what that means. I trust StudKev, and the code's open. But if Keychain gets hacked by the Lazarus group, I don't think we're a honeypot particularly. But if we want to onboard and continue to work on these things, it always is the case that we could become a honeypot at any time as these things are successful. So building awareness, right?
Let me catch Ryan Webb's comment real quick here, but that also opens up for when a reputable person gets hacked, and that leads to more people getting hit. What if a reputable person loses their wallet and creates a project and you go thinking it's legit? Now, here is this actually partially happened here recently. Iron Shield, who's a fellow I've known for a little bit now, his keys got compromised. Now, what Iron Shield did almost immediately, though, was hop on Discord and say, "Hey, Ed, I've lost my account and I'm kind of broken up about it. Can you send out a post and let other people know that the Iron Shield account is no longer me, the person?" I'm like, certainly, and got that right out. There are some advantages to Hive being small, and where you get a chance to start recognizing a lot of the different faces on this one level, right? Because interacting with different projects, different front ends, different tools, different games is maybe a little bit different than trading on an exchange somewhere. We're exposing our account to a variety of different surfaces, I guess.
I think that's exactly right, and we have a tendency, because we're so small, to try every game. And I recently released I'll put the tool here, the auth. You can check your auths, easily add or delete. If you're not using one, add it back later. I don't want to play that game for a week. Let me delete the auth. Let's try to be more secure. I'll put that tool in here in a second. But now, for those of us, and most of us do love playing on other chains, MetaMask, for example, works with only doxed developers. The MetaMask wallet is audited every 6 months, maybe. Says the idea about smart contracts is you don't need to trust anyone. You can see the code, the smart contract, and the transaction. And that's exactly right. You only need to trust the guy that speaks Rust or whatever it is. Because I don't speak that language, but you can learn enough, you can learn to read at least the transaction part of it. And if you know how to read code, if you open the GitHub, if you click the GitHub links, you might start to learn how to help. But really, that in the industry, so to speak, that job is auditing. Auditors, they audit the contracts. And so we don't have that on Hive yet, but we could, and we should, and we might. And oftentimes, independent audits, like when Keychain came out, I think there were 2 of them, if I remember correctly. People said, I looked at the code. Here's what I see. Here's how it works. They're not keeping anything. Look for yourself. But this is my an analysis of the code base.
Well, and Tara Draz, and Tara, I hope I'm saying your name correctly, says, but can I trust the audits? And so who will audit the auditors? And another thing occurs to me, and we have Starkers here. Starkers is been heavily involved in championing and helping develop some of the ways for people to spin HBD. Right, to be able to spin funds.
In fact, Ed, just be careful the ground you walk,
because
I have Starkers lined up, I think, for tomorrow. So don't don't step on me, okay? This is the Lazarus podcast. But talk about security. Talk about security, because I would love to get that feedback.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking, that becomes a whole nother layer of when we make things easier, we also maybe make them more easily exploitable. And so that's a piece they'll have to think about too.
I love you, Ed. This is Deep Web3 Secrets. We're having a blast talking about this Lazarus hack. Now, what is this bullish for the price? I'd love to get any chatters here feedback, because what I understand is, or at least this is the milieu, Lazarus don't dump, and Bybit it needs to get $1 billion worth of Ethereum, and they got a loan to do it. So is this bullish for Ethereum? Is this gonna start a fire under the alt market?
I think the limited alt market. I think, and maybe this is a separate topic, and I don't want to open up too many can of worms, but I don't think we're going to see a full spectrum alt season. I think you will see a limited basket of altcoins or alt tokens that advance and that catch fire. But I think that capital is too diluted now. I think attention. We can never forget about attention, right? I think attention is still too diluted for us to have like an alt season like we did. If anybody remembers what DeFi was like in 2001, I mean, pretty much you could launch just about anything back in 2001 at the height of that DeFi boom, and that thing was going to the moon, unless it was just the scammiest of scams, right? It was kind of like
maybe even if it was the scammiest of scams. Now let me talk to you about something, because this has been stuck in my craw. I watched the CoffeeZilla episode. We just posted the Crypto and Cola from Wednesday. It's on YouTube. Make sure to check it out and support the peeps. And they got a big show this week, so make sure you show up Wednesday, and because it's always good on Crypto and Cola. But we basically have $1.5 billion that's not going to move. And is that, I'm stuck on this, is that a lot of money? Because apparently Elon Musk, like last week, saved $50 billion, right? So when we talk about 2017, $100 could pump a token in 2017, man. Like, I've been necromancing some tokens. I've been putting the best practices into play. And, you could create incredible leverage with these tokens and a pool and a miner and a governance token, and like arrange these triangles where, like, I could put $100 in and inflate my net worth by $5,000. Now, what good does that do me? I mean, but I think in 2017 we were seeing really crude things, and you look at market cap, the volume needed to move the market is not the same as it was in 2021 or 2017. I think it is. I almost think this might be a drop in the bucket either way, or net on net, just kind of worthless. But I wonder if it's enough to get. See, I don't know that it's enough to get Bitcoin over the liquidity vortex at 100K, but it might be enough to get a breakout on the ETH BTC chart.
I think even though it sounds like a fantastic amount of money, I think because I think it's going to be a localized effect. Now, one of the things you were just kind of theorizing about was the Lazarus group then trying to use their ill-gotten gains to engineer or manipulate other markets. Is there any evidence or a record of them doing that in the past to try and spike or artificially manipulate markets for them to take a gain, or is their modus operandi more to lay low and kind of slowly and methodically wash the money through different services? What have they done in the past?
Well, I would love to look more into it. What I think I understand is that Bitcoin, which we'll get to here at the end, could be an option for them. But basically, if they start, and they have started bridging small amounts to Sol, but basically they should be able to pump and dump any token. Any token. I don't know if that includes Ethereum, but like as you go down the list, those market caps go down. Like any future token could be a pump and dump, pre-snipe from the Lazarus group here on out.
All right, so let me hit this comment from Starkers because I think people aren't going to want to miss your show. Starkers is not afraid to buy your attention and buy your affection. He says, I won't talk much about spending HBD tomorrow, but I do have a surprise $200 in Bitcoin to give away tomorrow for listeners to test something super cool out live on the show. So you're definitely going to want to listen to Starkers and Eco tomorrow. I'm assuming right here in this Discord, Eco?
In this very Discord on Deep Web3 Secrets. Yes, we've lined this up. It took us a little bit because there's some minor technical things, which unfortunately I'm just not able to do at the same time as record, but we got the 1-2 punch. In fact, if anybody in this chat right now would be up to screen share and participate in this process tomorrow, reach out to me or let us know. We'll be looking for volunteers to do more than just get money, but also to check out the different wallet options and share their screen as they do it.
And Eco, before I didn't want it to get buried. You mentioned that you had built out a tool for people to double check their authorizations. Is that on the Crazy GM? And do you want me to share that, or is that going to be something you got into tomorrow?
No, I'll go for the link. You cover for me, buddy.
Okay. All right. And just for everybody, because there's two conversations happening. Starkers is saying, yes, spend HBD and Distrator. I can never pronounce that correctly. A bit more on Tuesday on the show with the lovely Shadows, Pub, and Alessandra. That's a name that's full of promise. It's a shame she's not here for me to hear me say Alessandra.
Alessandra on Deep Web3 Secrets. Yeah, we are. There's a lot of cool stuff going on, and I just want to try to maybe keep everything to its own show because we got a YouTube channel, guys. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. So a lot of cool stuff coming up, and we want to talk about all of it. But the Lazarus Hack, they can pump and dump any token, And make sure you use this tool to check your Hive account authorities. So here's the real question. Can we trust any pump on any token, out of the top 10 from here on out?
I think so. I think if we're talking about the large established tokens, I think they have so much size now, and their ownership is spread around, particularly into corporate entities, that tokens in the top 10 I don't think can be as easily manipulated. But now if you hop over to Pump Phone, and someone's telling you need to buy some Uncle Bob because Uncle Bob is going to the moon, you might want to use a little bit of rational skepticism, right? Are you a Solana degen, Eco, or have you resisted that particular siren song?
Completely and utterly resist. I do not participate. My success in this space has come from limiting myself to an area of expertise where I feel comfortable, and that has necessarily caused me to miss many great opportunities to lose all my money. And so I feel like a fuddy-duddy sometimes, but then Terra Luna happened, and so, or, whatever it is. You got to know the risks. I'm not saying never use a centralized exchange. In this case, Bybit, although they seem to be covering all customer funds very well. But if you're going to take a position on, for example, Bybit's perpetual futures Hive market, know what risks you're getting yourself into. Position size that correctly, right? Make sure that that's not, the entirety of your portfolio. Spread it around. Different wallets, different exchanges. I cannot for the life of me imagine that these Bybit people are so busy that they need to do $1.5 billion of transactions at a time. It seems like an oversight that these aren't broken up into smaller bits, for example. But here we go. I am not worried about meme tokens now. Just recently in my life, though, a friend reached out and said, hey, do you have a Phantom wallet? Because I accidentally bought 13% of the supply of this meme token. And I want to share it with my friends. And I said, well... So I went to my partner, the crazy GM, and I said, "Hey, make a company wallet, where we can receive shitcoin donations and never really care about it, but at least we can say we received them and we have them." I don't think I'd ever trade or ever expect it to be worth anything, or even potentially poison my machine by exposing that to anything to get $10 or $20 out of it. But we can now officially receive meme coin donations on Solana. What is it called?
Solana. Oh, but I will say when the BUT token does launch, you're going to want to get on that, because that's gonna go to the moon. That's 100xer for certain. So when BUT coin launches, make sure to get yourself a big old moon bag. As we have established, the BUT has intrinsic utility.
At least it has humor utility, and Butcoins himself is backed up by over 100,000 Hive power, so he's a powerful BUT, particularly. I believe you spelled the planet wrong. It's called Uranus, okay? Uranus.
Uranus, yes. The only token preemptively endorsed by Sir Mix-a-Lot.
What questions from the audience do we have on Lazarus? Now we're winding down on the Lazarus Hack. Are there any questions in the audience? Throw them in the chat, or anybody would like to come on the mic and talk. We've got about 10-15 minutes left here dedicated to the Bybit, Lazarus, $1.46 billion Ethereum hack. Anybody wanted to come on the mic or ask a question for Aloha Ed to read in his sultry voice?
All right, I see some questions incoming. Okay, Ryan or Ryan Web3 says, how to prevent something like that happening at Hive? Do we need to be worried? Well, I don't think we have anything that's the equivalent of one of those cold wallets. Now, it could be that somebody gets into Blocktrade's wallet through some sort of arcane shenanigans and sorcery, and then votes up the most ridiculous things in the DHF proposal system. But I don't think we have the equivalent of that type of vulnerability. What do you think, Eco?
It's quite interesting to me because precisely Hive is on Bybit. And so I went to check the Hive market, and it turns out Hive is not on Bybit. It has a perpetual futures market. Why do I keep not getting this through my head? They have no spot markets. So,
yes.
Could this happen? Well, an exchange that listed Hive like Binance could get hacked. And if it were hacked in such a way that they got control of any amount of Hive, that could lead to a money attack or some sort of money attack, and maybe a very cheap version of the money attack. Binance, you'll remember in the original Steem Hive fork, Binance was induced through social engineering perhaps to power up their Steem and vote against the attackers, which was the community. Yo, who's talking, please? Who's talking, please? I'm gonna find you on the list. Is it? Who is this?
I'm gonna find you and hunt you down.
Starkers, yeah, man. Fill us in, man. Tell us everything.
Yo, yeah, just on this point that you're discussing right now, I think it's very interesting and very important. You had a great show with Voltec a couple of days ago or yesterday. I don't know. I heard it yesterday anyway. Talking about VSC, and you combine that with Leodex and some of the other large liquidity ecosystems that are going to be growing on Hive. I think also Hive Engine potentially could benefit from what I'm about to suggest. And if Hive succeeds, if it really, feeless DeFi, it's you imagine how much you can save in terms of fees on that as a typical DeFi user, and certainly be able to compete against larger institutions because their fees are so insanely high. So, feeless DeFi is a type of marketing angle we might take on that. But it's going to be very competitive. Hive as a DeFi layer, as a finance layer, is going to be incredibly competitive with its competitors. And so potentially, if we aim for the skies, which we should be doing, then you could potentially end up with a significant amount of liquidity locked on Hive, right? Under VSC, under Leodex potentially. There's, the potential's incredible. So we've got to expect, the hundreds of millions or billions of liquidity locked. Now the question is does our layer one provide that type of security that you can comfortably have billions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars locked in liquidity and collateral on this chain? And one of the things that's been suggested to help that is to build in, I might get the acronym the wrong way around here, but it's called something like SBL signatures, which allow, I understand Ethereum are integrating these signatures, and I know that Voltec is having a lot of discussions about getting this put on the layer one. And my understanding is it's not that hard to do from where we are. Basically what it is, it's a massive multi-sig. So you can have 400 or 1,000 people on a multi-sig account. And that would create a lot of calm around the locking of liquidity in these various ecosystems.
Oh, Starkers,
as far as I'm aware,
we got Voltec here, man. Jump on the mic. Is this M of N keys? Is this something like an M of N key solution? What is a BLS signature? Just 2-minute version, Voltec. We got you here, man. So jump on in.
Sure. So it's basically just it's a type of signature algorithm that allows for efficient aggregation. And so what that basically means is that you can take a signature from, 500 people and it's the same size as a signature with one person. And so when you have like a situation like VSC as a layer 2 where we have validators that could be in the hundreds, the current Hive multisig that exists, the current, thing that we can do on the layer 1, it's limited to only 40. So we can't fully represent the security of VSC as being like a layer 2 on the Hive because we can't sign with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of signers. We have to only use a subset. And then those subset could potentially control the network or, do some hack. It's more limited security versus, having a few hundred validators versus 40.
That was a great 1 minute version. Thank you so much. Okay, so that helps me a lot understand. And so these are all things that are interesting to talk about, and we hopefully are bringing to Hive. And I know that Vaultec is one of the great reacher outers. Now, Starkers, if you're still there, you're a great reacher outer too. Just to prime us for the next show, where do you prioritize some of these different ideas? I mean, where does security come when you are talking about all the different ideas that you're working on?
Yeah, I think it's incredibly important, and if you can work towards implementing the technology that Vaultec's talking about there and figure out as a chain how we implement that on layer 1, it allows for like a layer 1 witness pool that's you kind of security of the chain's code, and then you can have a separate multi-sig pool where you can store collateral and liquidity that's got 400, 500 signatures attached to it to release those funds. It just makes it way more secure, and it's also what a lot of other chains, the other top chains are doing this already. So in order to be competitive, we need to look towards that, I think.
I love that. I had never thought that we would get to such a propositivo, something solution based. Very interesting. And then finally, we did have a backtrack here, but you're such a butt. You missed it. We were talking about the rollbacks. Ethereum, we believe, would have. It's too late to do any of the only just kind of ugly rollback. It's way too late. They'd have to do an even uglier. I think they'd lose all credibility, and I don't think in the end 1.5 billion is enough to worry about. But the question is then, is a top wallet being held, more than Vitalik, more than the foundation? Lazarus Group, famous group now, is a top holder of Ethereum. Does that by itself poison the name of Ethereum? I think is more the real question here. Anybody have any opinions on that?
It could. I think the way that Ethereum responds to it with their own messaging and the way the market responds to it will answer that question within the next week. And Eco, I was able to find Ethereum weighing in on this for Buckcoins. Ethereum core developer Tim Biko, or Bako perhaps, says that despite growing calls for an Ethereum network rollback, it is technically intractable. And I will post that article in for Buckcoins. So it looks like it is not going to happen.
Yeah, that's the way I understand it. It's too late, as they say. And so that question is, if it isn't already off the table, it is soon to be. The more time passes, even every hour that passes, that's more transactions that theoretically could be affected by it. So, okay, so as we're winding up here, we had the last kind of question for it. Is there a need to maybe lift up as a third level of security our Hive reputation, remembering that we have a reputation on Hive, especially as we attempt to attract new developers through onboarding and hackathons? a reputation in this very Discord. 3 times a week, somebody is experienced Web3 developer that wants to work on our whatevers. And we could say, oh, yeah, that's a scammer. But how many of those are North Korean developers? And how can we use our Hive reputation system to vet developers or audit each other's code to make sure that none of these North Korean developers are ever getting into our Deep Web3 secrets?
And I think a person holding Hive assets too is often a good indicator of their skin in the game. You know, if I go and I pull up Starker's wallet, or if I pull up Vaultec's wallet, or if I pull up other people who are serious about building things here, I can see that they have a significant stake and a strong personal interest in developing good things, in building Hive, and not putting their own stake at risk, right? Not doing anything malicious or harmful. Now, maybe in another few years, as more liquidity moves off chain, that might not be as strong as a predictor, but we can go back and look at the history. We can go back and look at someone's history, and I would be somewhat dubious about some developer coming from outside that doesn't have any significant experience with the Hive ecosystem talking about wanting to build some kind of complex system here. That would definitely raise a red flag for me, and hopefully for everyone else.
Well, it was one of the things that I was really happy to remember, that Vaultec has been with us for so many years through the DTube and then the other thing. You did some with the Honeycomb stuff, and so, or the Speak Network, I believe. And so that is good, right? That's really good. And how can we need kind of a training ground, right? We need kind of a proving ground maybe for these new users. And then finally, what can we do to mitigate depending too heavily on reputation and perhaps allowing a reputable account that gets hacked to scam us?
That one's probably more challenging. I'd be interested to hear Starker's take. I think a lot of that is our own community diligence. That level of community diligence won't scale beyond a certain point. And so if Hive, if we really do hit the gas pedal at some point, and VSC is able to bring a whole lot of new people into the ecosystem, it'll be certainly something we have to figure out. But Starkers and Vaultec might have some better answers for that kind of security protocol or validation or verification in the human sense that can be done programmatically.
What do you think,
Sorry,
guys? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm ever so sorry. I didn't catch the question.
Yeah, let me lead in for you.
The moment. Yeah.
Let me lean in, bridge him over. The question is, we have this protection system, which is the reputation system. I think it's unique in open source chains, and the opposite risk of that is being fooled by a reputable account that has been hacked. What sort of extra precautions do we need to take care of, in your mind, Starkers, in terms of protocol level security to make sure we don't take reputation too far?
That's very interesting. I mean, I don't have the answer off the top of my head. My initial thoughts would just be that, for example, my account doesn't have a very good reputation. I like to think maybe that my reputation, there's two reputations on Hive. There's the reputation that you build intangibly, and the tangible reputation that's the number on your account. And also, of course, the amount of money in your account as well, I think, makes a difference. The other thing that I really like that's come into fruition here is the incentivization of actions here. So you can go in and spend money in a real business, but you don't have any KYC. So that's proof of person. So you could have, you could have some sort of scenario where, if the community is worried about an account being hacked, we could say to them, go spend some money in a business and let that business confirm whether or not it's you. I mean, that's not foolproof, but it certainly makes it more difficult. And there's no KYC required, just the business saying, yeah, a real person came in to spend this and they're on my video cameras kind of thing, or whatever. So there's different ways. Yeah, of course, it's concerning that if one of the big accounts gets hacked and then we just assume it's them and allow some sort of signature to happen. Yeah, I think we need to be on our guard for that type of thing. I don't know what the answer to that is.
I love it. No, but you walk through a couple of things that I love. One, be aware, be on your guard. Let's build awareness in the community, and Ryan Web3 is also saying stuff like that. We could have some attention to what custom JSON transactions are supposed to look like. I mean, that could be a fun activity. Awareness. And then what you mentioned about an HBD economy and no KYC validation. The only thing that we know is that the shop owner said a human came. A human was here. And they don't need to, upload your ID or, put the security camera on the internet. They just need to, and that's, maybe it's not 100% foolproof, but that's 99.99% foolproof with trusted businesses to say, yeah, that was a human. And now we know it's a human.
Well, I think this proof of person thing is incredibly important going forwards, and it's possible on Hive because, this is, mostly up to my decision in terms of who the trusted guides are that say that these businesses are real and onboard them. But we do look into, how much Hive power they have, how much reputation they have, if they're posting regularly, if we've spoken to them, if we get a feeling of genuine feeling about them, that they're trustable people and they can demonstrate it, then they have a lot to lose. They have a lot to lose on the chain because it takes a long time to build that reputation and 5 minutes to lose it. So I think that whole combination of factors on Hive means that you can identify certain people in the community, many people in the community who are trustable. It's not foolproof, like you say. It's not, but it's 99.5%. I think it's really up there. And then they say, okay, these physical points are points that I've identified that can be where you can spend HBD or you can do some interaction with, and that becomes then, trust the reputation that I've built. So there is a trusted element, but it's the collateral of that trust is quite difficult to get hold of in terms of building the reputation. And then you can spend into that location, and as long as that spend happens and it's a physical location with a geolocation, a photo, a timestamp of the spend, a quantity of the spend, maybe a photo or two of what you bought, that's proof of person right there. That's about as good as you need. And there's no KYC at any point because you can mine the money straight from the chain in terms of blogging, take your blogging rewards and spend them in the shop. So there was no bank, no KYC point involved anywhere along that process. And it's proof of person, I think. And I don't know if many of the chains have actually implemented it yet.
I haven't heard anybody who's done something like this. The near competitor would be WorldCoin, which is very invasive, a face and eye scanning process at centralized points. But this, to me, seems superior, and it also addresses something we talked about Hive Watchers on a previous episode, which is that, they were starting to maybe require Web 2 doxing, and a lot of people thought that was too far. This allows a very unique proof of person because I'm fine to dox myself to my bakery. I just don't want you to know who I am. You know what I mean? So it's as long as my baker is trusted to say, yeah, I know this guy, then maybe that is such a unique non-KYC proof of person that maybe no one has solved before. This is very cool.
Well, it's in the nature of Hive, right? Hive has this worldwide community of people, and not everyone has great reputations on Hive, don't get me wrong. But there are some amazingly reputed people all over the world in almost every single country in the world in Hive. And that is so valuable. I don't think the blockchain world has even figured that out yet. You know, that they'll have some centralized party assigning people and saying, you know, you're my friend, so you can be in this. But it's like, well, where's the reputation on chain to back that? Where's the currency in their account that backs that? Where's the years that they've spent building that reputation? You know, to the point where you don't need to know the person. You can see it on the chain. This person is a real person. They're genuine. They're trustable. They have reputation to lose. And then now we can just use that and have trusted physical locations. Well, I don't know another blockchain system that can do that. And Hive really is very, very powerful. I mean, this is not even touching the tip of the iceberg, you know.
I love
I
it.
just wanted to say real quickly, if the World Coins validation method was considered too intrusive or too invasive, Buttcoins and I may have to rework our scheme for proof of butt. That may not be acceptable by the community. But I do want to say the proof of person thing is kind of an excellent idea, and it kind of points out the direct utility of programs like Crypto and Cola and like Deep Web3 secrets. Because if you were to come in March and all of a sudden the Hive or Voltec had developed a North Korean accent, it might occur to you that something had gone amiss.
I love this, man. And the more we can connect these things, the more we can tie in with what Ryan Web3 is saying, which is that these sorts of verifications grow stale. They grow dusty. But, yeah, man, I couldn't handle that proof of butt. But this, I just want to wrap it up. We've had some great conversations. Stay around for the after party, everybody. This has been Deep Web3 Secrets, where decentralized communities meet and talk about building and solving all the world's problems.